Hello, and welcome back to our channel. My name is Alex, and I am the host of a DID system called the Obsidian Collective. Today I wanted to make a video different from our normal videos, but I guess it's similar. And it's just talking about life with DID. That's pretty much what our whole channel is about, but this video is going to be like a little bit more all-encompassing of the experience and the struggles, I guess, about how it's like and how it is. Take off my glasses for the light shining on it. Yeah, I was thinking today, and I think about it pretty often, but just the lack of awareness with DID and how that affects people with DID, because it affects us a lot, and it really, really sucks. Um, it's a very difficult disorder to live with because it's all encompassing. You do not have a choice in whether you get to, like, I mean, with all disorders, with depression and with anxiety, you can't just stop being depressed. You can't just stop being anxious. Even though lots of people want you to be and and will just say that to you as a method of treatment, that's not how it works. And that's also not how it works with DID. But I find that there is a lot more awareness with disorders like depression and anxiety, well, probably because they're more prevalent, percentage-wise, um, more common. But at the end of the day, DID still isn't like completely non-existent. I believe the percentage of people with ginger hair is the same as the percentage of people with DID. So if you've seen someone with red hair before, you have seen or met someone with DID as well, or ginger hair. And so it's like, it's not as rare as people as make it out to be. And that's all like high key because people just don't talk about it. There's not really that much awareness going on about it. And that is a problem because when someone does have DID and they do need help and they do need accommodations for it, it's incredibly difficult for them to get that. It's incredibly difficult to live with DID because there's really not much like accessible help for it. And that's really difficult. It's very difficult, and you find yourself questioning, well, what can I do? Like, what am I supposed to do if I can't have access to anyone who can help me? Like, the amount of DID specialists is a pretty small number, especially like state by state. I'm speaking for the United States. It's hard to find one that isn't out of pocket, that one that takes your insurance, and that's a whole situation in itself. Like, it's really difficult to find one that takes insurance, and then it's really difficult to find one that will take your insurance specifically. It'll be like, oh, they take insurance, but it's not mine. What do? You can't do anything. You're screwed. You pay out of pocket, or you don't see a DID specialist, and then you will see therapists that aren't DID specialists because you can't find a therapist who is a DID specialist, but then you need treatment because DID is very stressful to live with. You need to see a therapist, or else you are going to be having a breakdown every single week. And even if you do see a therapist, you probably still will have a breakdown every week with DID just because of how stressful it is. And you will see a therapist who isn't a DID specialist, and half the time, pretty much 99.9% of the time, they will say, I'm not comfortable treating you because I'm not familiar with DID. And so then you're screwed, and you have to look for another therapist and hope that they will treat you even though they are not DID specialists, and even though they cannot treat you and help you, like with your alters. And I've had so many therapists who, because they're not DID specialists, because they're not in the know. They've like with DID, they will end up being like not the best at speaking to alters or helping with that, which is like one of the key parts of the disorder is the fact that there's alters. And it's frustrating because it's like you can't only speak to the host like all the time. You can't only see the host as a valid person. Like you need to be treating other alters as valid people as well. Like I have so many people that I meet, not even just therapists, but this does happen with therapists where they meet me, they're very nice to me, they treat me like great, and then they meet Ace, because usually it's Ace who they're meeting, and they treat him completely differently. And he is the head protector, and he's like, I don't like this person because they're treating me terribly, but they treat you fine. Like he deserves to be treated with the same amount of respect that I do. Like, yeah, he doesn't have his own body, but at the end of the day, he has his own feelings and his own personality and his own being inside the head. And so it's like you need to be treating him with respect as well. And so that's just it's been driving me crazy, because there's just really there's not enough awareness about it. Like you can't go to your university, you can't go to your job for the most part and be like, I need accommodations for DID. They're gonna look at you and think you are like there's something wrong with you, and they're not going to help with that. It's difficult to find a job that is good, like for working with DID, that isn't too stressful, that's not going to trigger alters out, that isn't like, it's difficult. You get burnt out very easily, you have breakdowns very easily, so it kind of feels like life is just kind of, you've been played cards that kind of screw you over. Like you kind of feel a little hopeless a lot of the time because there's just, it feels like everywhere you turn there's no way to make life any easier or have any accommodations for DID. And I don't know, I can't speak for the experience of OSDD, but you know, if anyone with OSDD wants to comment on how their experience is, as well, I would really appreciate that, and like the lack of accommodations and the lack of awareness, because I'm sure it does also affect you, even though the amnesic barriers aren't as bad. I'm sure that it still influences your life. So if you have OSDD, please comment below how your experience is. But I can only speak on my experience with DID, and it's been rough. We were in university. We were rapid switching in classes, and we were having moments where like we would be walking somewhere and like another alter would switch in, we'd end up somewhere we don't know where we are, and then we'd be like, shit, how do we get back to our dorm? And that would be like a panic moment, because of how stressful that is. More recently I ended up in the hospital, and I was not the one who like put myself in the hospital, it was another alter. So then I woke up in the hospital and I was terrified as to how I got there, and it's just like it's kind of, it's terrifying. And I feel like there's just no one uh who like understands or can help with that kind of terror. They kind of just get too afraid to say anything. A lot of people, because they lack like the education or no knowledge about DID, they kind of just like pull back and are like, well, I don't know what to say because I don't know anything about it. And it's like, you can ask questions, and you can learn how to treat us like normal people. You don't have to treat us like we're gonna poison you if you touch us or talk to us. Um, and it's frustrating. Like, I really wish more people would just treat us like normal people. but also be aware of like what it is and ask questions and do research and learn about it. Like there's so much people who make themselves knowledgeable about things like depression and anxiety so that they can understand their loved ones, um, and help them with that. But then they don't do the same with DID, and I just think the same should be done. And I think when we're doing awareness for disorders, we should also be doing awareness for disorders that are heavily stigmatized the way DID is. And like shows like Moon Knight, they like help to bring awareness to a disorder that a lot of people, when I mention it, they're like, what is that? And like I don't want, I want it to be a world where I can say I have DID and people are like, oh, okay. Like they understand, they know what it is. They aren't immediately being like, oh, like Split or like the murders. Like they don't, they actually talk about it in a way that's respectful and not like heavily stigmatized and offensive. Um, and that would just be an ideal world. And like obviously that's not going to happen immediately, but I just find myself often thinking like, is this really like the only progress we've made so far? Like this is it. And I find it shocking because I have close friends that, and like family that are like, will be like okay with our depression and our anxiety, but then as soon as it gets to our DID, they completely pull back. And it's like, why can you handle the depression, but when it comes to the DID, you can't exercise the same decency that you did. So it's been in my mind, and it's been very frustrating. I just, everything. Um, I find myself questioning a lot. Like, is this possible? Is it possible to live a successful life with DID? And it is. There are people out there who are successful and are living happy lives with DID. Um, and that goes for people who fused all their alters into one. And then there's people who are living with their alters happily, and they can handle functional multiplicity. And I think right now it's just, we're in a difficult spot with how it is, and how we don't have that the same resources other people have. And I think a lot of people with DID don't have the resources that those successful people have. um, I think it's incredibly difficult to find the resources necessary and to afford the resources necessary, because it's such an all-encompassing disorder that keeps you from being able to work jobs very easily, um, or keep a job. And so therefore you can't afford that much. A lot of people with DID do their best to get on disability because of how difficult it is to work a job with the disorder. Um, and then they can't afford things like a therapist out of pocket, or they can't afford good insurance that, that'll pay for um, the therapists that treat DID. And so they kind of just get screwed, because if you can't get help for the disorder that's keeping you from being able to work, um, then you can't work. And if you can't work, you can't get those treatment. So you're just in this never ending cycle, and you're stuck. Um, and I just wish it wasn't like that. So this is just me talking about that, and hoping that someone watches this video and either is like, yeah, like I completely agree, I've been thinking that same thing, um, or you're a singlet, which is a person without DID or is in a system, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I'm gonna like educate myself more, and I'm gonna try and be more aware of this, so that way I can be a person in a person with DID's life that that helps them and kind of alleviates some of that stress that they experience, um, because we need more supportive singlets that are educating themselves. Um, so yeah, if you have any questions, please leave them below. We do stream on Twitch, at twitch.tv/lamelashton. That will be in the description. So if you ever have any questions, um, and we're streaming, you can feel free to ask them in the chat and we'll answer them. And yeah, it's I just want to talk about it because there's not many people talking about it, and I hope one day we can achieve our goal and be one of the people who helps other people with DID and OSDD with getting help and making it more accessible, because it's not very accessible right now. And yeah, so thank you for watching. Drink some water if you haven't, eat food if you haven't, take your meds, take care of yourself, and I will be back soon with another video. Thank you.